Is there something special about the right hand? Is there something we are missing? When Jesus says, "Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth." Is there a reason Jesus sits at the right hand of the power of God and not the left? I think so, and it's something fundamental to humanity. Now, of course, this is not to say that there is anything wrong with the left hand, or with people who are left-handed for that matter. Surely, we are all created in the image of God, and God Himself has a left hand. But all of it seemingly points to a fundamental mystery regarding our rights and lefts. And so before we discuss the miracle recorded in the Talmud that confirms Jesus was the Messiah, let's first dive into the mysterious significance, both biblically and even historically, of the right hand. Jonah was commanded by God to go proclaim God's righteous judgment that would fall upon the city of Nineveh. As the book of Jonah records, God said, "Their wickedness is come up before me." But when Jonah completed his task, God made an intriguing statement when talking about the Ninevites. He said that these people couldn't discern between their right hand and their left hand. And King Solomon repeated a similar distinction in Ecclesiastes 10:2. He says, "A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left." Even in the Gospel of Matthew, we see that when the righteous sheep are separated from the unrighteous goats in judgment, the sheep are placed on his right hand, while the goats are placed on his left. But we also find examples of the right hand becoming a curse, as Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, "If thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. If thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell." The prophet Micah laments that his people are so wicked that they do evil with both hands. And David cries out that his persecutor's right hand is a right hand of falsehood. He even prays in Psalm 109, "Set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand." And this is very relevant to what happens in Revelation 13, when the mark of the beast is revealed. "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand." But one of the most interesting examples of this distinction is found in the book of Judges. During this time, the people of Israel were subjugated by a wicked king named Eglon. We read, "But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed. And by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger which had 2 edges, of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. You see, every man would indeed be searched for a sword on his left thigh. Why? Because a right-handed man would draw from the sheath on his left, reaching across his body. But a left-handed man would have no need of this, and therefore it made a perfect decoy. He would be disarmed of the useless sword on his right and be able to dispatch of the king with the actual weapon on his left. And that is exactly what happened. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he arose out of his seat, and Ehud put forth his left hand, and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. But this pattern is not simply relegated to the Bible. It is also found in many interesting historical and linguistic oddities that are very often overlooked. For instance, our English word sinister is actually a Latin word, meaning on the left side, the opposite of dexter, where we get the word dexterity, which means on the right side. And this is why we call someone who can use both their right or left hands ambidextrous. The Latin prefix ambi means both. In other words, semantically, we could say this word literally means having two right hands. Similarly, the French word droit means right or straight, and is where we get the word adroit, which is similar in meaning to dexterous. Salt is thrown over the left shoulder when it is spilled. It is said to ward off evil spirits lurking there. Throughout history and across cultures, to sit at the right hand of a king is to be given great authority. Even today, virtually anywhere in the world, there is a universal understanding that shaking with the left hand is, at best, impolite. In some regions of Africa and the Middle East, it is actually seen as an insult to wave hello with the left hand. And in many countries like India, it is socially taboo to use the left hand to eat or pass objects because of its habitual use for unclean tasks. It is surely no accident that even our current-day political parties follow a similar archetype. The right being conservative and adhering to more traditional values, and the left favoring progressive ideals that are often opposed to traditions and norms. Even the way we use the word right displays its fundamental link to goodness. After all, would you rather be right or wrong? And finally, and perhaps most profoundly, God's holy nature is said to be righteous. And as Psalm 118 records, the right hand of the Lord doeth valiantly. Now, once again, this is not to disparage anyone who is left-handed. All of us were created in the image of God, but surely you can see that everything we've covered points to a fundamental mystery regarding our rights and lefts that is deeply embedded in mankind. Now, before we move on, if you don't know about the ceremony of the scapegoat, please watch our previous video here. not only to understand that ceremony more fully, but also to discover even more miracles in the Talmud that prove Jesus really was who he said he was. During this ceremony, the high priest would pull 2 stones from a wooden box. These stones were called lots. On one lot would be written "For God," and on the other, "For Azazel," which meant the wilderness. And this was done to determine which goat would be sacrificed and which goat would become the scapegoat, bearing the sins of Israel. The high priest would hold up 1 lot in each hand, not knowing which was which, and this is why it was called a lottery. However, unlike the lottery that millions of people take part in today, this was not presumed to be left up to chance. Whenever lots were chosen or thrown, it was seen to be ordained by the very hand of God. This is also why we have phrases like the hand of fate, echoing this sentiment. And so, during this process, the high priest would stand between 2 parties. The deputy high priest would stand on his right, and the head of the priestly family, or in other words, the family of the priest which was serving in the temple that week, on his left. Clearly, as we have seen over and over, the right hand is the side to be on. And this is what makes the miracle so significant. You see, it was actually thought that the specific hand that the lot for God arose in indicated the people standing before God. For example, during the tenure of Shimon HaTzadik, it is said that the lot for God always arose in the high priest's right hand. But after his death, it occurred only occasionally. The miracle here is obvious if the lot always appears in the right hand. It defies probability. And thus, when it returned to being drawn simply by chance after his death, then there was a clear sign that God's favor had been withdrawn. However, as with our previous video, after 30 AD, everything changed. But during the 40 years prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, the lot for God did not arise in the high priest's right hand at all. The miracle that was a sign of God's favor to the people of Israel not only stopped occurring, it reversed. Many throughout time have chosen to be on the wrong side of his story. And now the same question remains for you. Will you choose to be on the right side of God, following right behind him? Or will you instead choose to be left behind, left to your own devices? Thank you so much for watching, and if you really like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. And be sure to check out this other video from our channel here that you might enjoy. God bless you, and have a great day.